Hey there, are you ready to take what you've learned in the earlier lessons about Canvas and JavaScript and also apply your JavaScript knowledge that you already know and bring it all together to create a Canvas drawing application? So let's begin. So first of all, let's create our Canvas element, and we already have one created, so just use this one, setting a width. And this width is going to be, I'm going to set it at 500 so that it fits within my drawing area, within my screen area. And also give it a height of 300. And you can adjust this as needed. Also going to take Canvas and apply some styling to it so that we can see where the border is located on it. And this is regular JavaScript, so one pick solid black. You might choose to remove this afterwards. And it looks like I need to make it a little bit smaller so that it fits into my area. So the other thing that we need to do is we want to have some options, some buttons. So set those up as well. So I'll have one button and I'll give it a class. So this button is going to be to save the project. I'll just give it a value of save. And the other button is going to be a class of, I'm going to lowercase this. And this one is going to be clear. And this is going to clear the canvas. So it's going to reset the canvas back to blank. Let the person choose other values as well. There's some other things that we need to set. And pen color, pen width. We're just going to use regular HTML5 input fields for this. So choose, and I'm going to use a span for this so we can keep this all within line. Picking the color, and this is going to be an input. And using, once again, HTML5, the type is going to be a color. So that gives us a color picker automatically. And also set a default starting value. So how about we set it to whatever this color turns out to be. So default value color. And I'll give it an ID of pen. So this is our main drawing pen color. And then we also want to set up another option, and this is the pen width. So we've got the color and we've got the pen width. I'm going to use an HTML5 element for this as well, so the slider element. So the type is going to be a range, and then we'll have a minimum and a maximum for the range. So minimum is going to be 1, and max is going to be 20. And the value by default, let's set it to 10. I'll update this to pen width, and then this can be pen color. So easy to select from our JavaScript. So it looks like we've got some options here. So we've got save, clear. I'm going to wrap this in a div so it gets a new line. So now we've got some options. We've got our canvas. We've got a slider to adjust the width. So let's create some JavaScript to pick up these actions. So within our dashboard or within our interface. So we already have the canvas set up. We've selected the canvas element within the canvas object in JavaScript. So we're a few steps ahead there. We've set a width and a height. Let's select some elements. So the different element, because we are going to need these values. So pen, I use query select. I use query selector for this, and I do use query selector quite often because I find it's one of the easiest selectors. So pen color. It's just like CSS when you make your selection. And the other one that we needed is the pen width. So put that into an object. So we've got all of the values that we need, as well as we need to get those buttons that we have available on the screen. So we can attach event listeners to those buttons. So we can do those all within one because we're not going to be doing any updates to those buttons. So document and using query selector, selecting the first button with a class of save. We only have the one button with class of save. And then add an event listener directly into it. And this event listener is going to be whenever it's clicked. And we'll just and we'll do one more, and this one will just be to clear the image. So documents and clear, and this is going to run clear image. And those turned out a little bit long, so let me shorten those. It fits on our screen. I'm going to create the functions in order to house those, so we don't throw any errors when we save it. And the other function was to clear img. So I think we're ready to try all of that, and we've got the two buttons, so they fire off okay. Let's check pen color, make sure that we've got the right object for that. Also try pen width, just to make sure that everything is good to go. And it looks like everything is working and functioning. So that's the main JavaScript part that we needed to add in order to get our functionality that we needed. We also want to pick up where the mouse position is. So that's another element that we need to listen for. And we also want to listen when the mouse is up and down. So adding all of those in And then we're going to just simply call to the draw function whenever there's any type of mouse actions. So taking our canvas object that we have and adding an event listener to there. The event listener, so the first one is going to be mouse move. We're going to listen for that. And that's going to invoke a function. And what this function is going to do is this is going to get the mouse position. So I do need to track this within an object. So let's set up an object. We can call it M. And for now, we'll just set it as a blank object. So within M, I'm going to set a default for X. And I'm also going to set a default for Y. And we're also going to grab those last positions. So you can set those if you want as well. So we can call it last X and set it to 0. And then there's last Y, because we need to track these values, because in order to make our calculation of where we last left off, and then we can use it within the event listener, where we're going to take our position and get our last X. So this is going to be equal to whatever mouse X is, and the mouse last Y is going to be equal to whatever the mouse Y is before we make the adjustment. And then what we want to do is we want to pick up where the mouse is located. So mouse X is going to be equal to wherever the page event is. And we're picking up that event object within E. So we're setting MX to whatever the value of EX is. So that's the event object X. And then we're also going to take the MY and we're setting that to whatever the EY position is. So that's going to give us all of the values that we need in order to position where we're located. I'm also going to console log that out. So whenever we're moving, we can get MX and MY. And we'll output that into the console. Getting the X and the Y position where it's relating and anytime we're on top of canvas, but it's not getting the X and Y position of the element on top of canvas. So this is where we need to take canvas and we need to subtract out whatever the position of canvas is and its offset position. So that's the offset left we're going to subtract. And then for the other vertical, we need to canvas and offset top. So that should 0, 0, M position. So now we can go to 0 and you can see that now it's going back down to 0. So whenever I go off the top, then it does hit 0 or close enough to it that whenever it's not registering that when we go off of it. So that's the mouse move, and that's creating the mouse move positioning. And there's a few other ones that we need to do where we need to track the mouse down as well on top of canvas. So let's create that one. And this one's going to be a little bit easier where we're tracking mouse down. So anytime the mouse is clicked down, then we know that we want to invoke a function. And the function that we're going to be calling is going to be draw, and we're going to be drawing down on that. So for now, we can just leave that one blank and then get to that later on. We also have mouse up. So whenever we're moving up off the position, then we want to invoke that. And then also mouse out is going to be the same as up, so mouse out. So whenever we move out of the canvas, then we also want to track that and register that within a function. So now we've got quite a few things going on here, and we're tracking all of this stuff that whenever we're mouse down, we're at mouse up, and as well as mouse out is all being tracked into events. And the next thing that we want to do is register those events. So one last thing before we conclude, and I know this has been a fairly long lesson, where we're going to create a function that's just going to have draw in it. And then within draw, we're going to have whatever the draw command was. So I'll just call it value for now. And we're just going to pass in down. This is going to be draw up. This one is draw up as well. This is the action that we want to take. And then this one is going to be draw move. So we've got a bunch of commands that we've got to listen for. And it's going to take that in for now, and it'll put into the console. So we can actually see what's happening here. And I'm going to get rid of this console movement. So now we're able to track, and whenever we leave, it goes up. So that means that the same thing that we're going to do whenever the pen is lifted up. So we're all ready to go. We've set up all of our controls, and we're set up our event listeners, and we're ready to move on to the next step where we can get back into Canvas and start doing some drawing on the canvas element. So that still is all yet to come. So go ahead, set up your control area, set up the buttons that you need, as well as any other controls that you want to have within your screen, and then we're going to accommodate all of this within the draw function. So all of that is still yet to come.